Welcome to the Profits in Pajamas podcast. I'm Danielle D, or Coach Danni D, and I help women to create luxury brands by creating processes and tightening their branding. This is where we talk about how to build your business in a way that allows you to work with ease and enjoy your life. My happy space is spending as much time as humanly possible in my pajamas. And I want to help others to find their happy space while still running profitable businesses. So get comfortable and let's dig in. Welcome to the Profits in Pajamas podcast. I am your host, Coach Danny D, here just to help women professionals, women entrepreneurs to find that space of joy and fulfillment. Some people may call it work life balance. Basically, just to get your personal success story nailed down so that you can pursue that and live a life that is fulfilled. So, I wanted to share with you guys today. This is something I stumbled upon actually, and um, I just needed to share it with you guys. So I, I'll share a little bit of backstory and then share the thing. So last week I was, dealing with a lot of different things, and in the process, I was feeling a little stuck, right? So I had a bunch of different ideas for things that I wanted to be working on, things that I was like super excited about. But for whatever reason, I just could not get myself going. I could not get myself to like actually do the things. Um, I mapped out like, all these plans. I love, if y'all know me, y'all know I love strategic planning. Y'all know I love creating. So, um, really was in my zone as far as um ideas and next steps and plans, but for some reason I just could not get myself going. And again, if you know me, you know that that is like kind of unusual. I mean, not that I don't, there are times when I struggle with starting something new, and we all do. It's usually some sort of fear associated with that, or lots of things can be the reason why we hesitate when we should move forward, right? But I'm typically able to switch that very quickly. So I will um be able to tell myself, wait, you are pausing, go. And pretty I usually am pretty good about that. This podcast is an example of that. I had a conversation with my coaching sisters, late December, early January, about this idea to do this podcast. This was, several years ago. This was during COVID. And, we kind of tossed it around. I didn't know if it was going to be a thing. I didn't know if it was going to stick, but I was like, let's try it. And so, like I said, I had this conversation late December, early January ish. And by January 12th, my birthday, the first episode was aired. Prior to the first episode, pulled my graphics together, had a photo shoot, all of those things, like because I'm doing this, right? So I'm usually pretty good about that. And I usually, I have my cheat codes. I think everybody should have. Um, Cheat codes, we can talk about that. I think I talked about that in the past episode, but if not, we'll talk about that a little later. But everybody should have their cheat codes, the things that they use to get themselves motivated, to get themselves in action when they are stalled, right? So I just couldn't figure it out. I'm like, I got it all right here in front of me. I'm so excited internally to get this going, and I just could not move. I just couldn't move. So, I was on Facebook and I happened across a app about procrastination of all things, right? And so I was like, well, let me just download this. Side note, I haven't I haven't been consistent with it, which is his own thing. We'll explore that. But anyways, I downloaded it. I get in there and I do, the first exercise, which is a commitment and, just really understanding why you're here. And that's how I start all of my programs. So I was like, okay, this is very encouraging because I start all of my programs that way because I want to make sure that my clients are understanding why they're here and committed to it because I want to see results. I'm not just trying to funnel clients through. I like to see results. Okay, enough about that. So I do the initial commitment exercise, and then there's some other little exercises in there that you can do, just random exercises. So I'm scrolling through and I click on an exercise, and it was basically, I mean, it didn't phrase it that way, but basically, it was an emotional brain dump. And I had never done that before. So I am a big proponent of doing brain dumps whenever you are stalled, right? And that's one of my cheat codes. That's one of the things in my arsenal of things to get me going when I feel like I'm stuck is to do that brain dump. And that brain dump is getting all of those things out of your head because sometimes they're in the way. They're in the way of you making decision. They're in the way of you taking action. So I'm a big proponent of brain dumps, been doing them for a very long time. Um, Helps to get you, refocused and just, you don't realize how much junk is inside of your brain. It's kind of like spring cleaning in your house. You don't realize until you start to, move that stuff around. Like if you ever moved before and you realize, man, I got a bunch of stuff that I just didn't know was taking up space, right? Same thing with your thoughts. So I've done brain dumps on tasks or projects or, whatever, but never on emotion, never an emotional brain dump. And little did I know that that was exactly what I needed in that moment. It wasn't the ideas, I had them all perfectly mapped out. Like, this. Like, I mean, I had so many ideas mapped out that it was kind of like, which one do you start with? Right. So I had the ideas, I had the time squared away. Like, today I'm going to lock myself in a room and all I'm going to do is this. I had all of that, but I did not realize that this time what was blocking the way was my emotions. So, I was, carrying all of this emotional um baggage that I had not unpacked, that I had not addressed, that I had not been even realizing was there. Like, sometimes if you throw your purse on your shoulder or you throw um you try to, process things. I'm sorry. If you throw your purse on your shoulder and you go throughout your day and you just forget that it's there because it's been there for that long, that is how sometimes we are with our emotions. They are there and we are not able to process them because we kind of throw them to the side or we just, assume that they'll work themselves out, but sometimes we need to really address them and reflect on them. Sometimes we don't even realize what they are. So the particular exercise I'll share it with you guys, and I would love for you guys to actually do the exercise. The exercise was to set a timer for 10 to 15 minutes and just write, just free write what's going on with you emotionally. No thoughts, like as far as no editing, no nothing, just free write. Just free write for that 10 to 15 minutes about your emotions. And when I was finished, I was just like, "Oh, oh, I didn't realize, hey, you never really processed that thing that happened, a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. You never really, verbalize this particular situation. Um you never put to bed this thought." So I want you to, take a moment, do an emotional brain dump and figure out what's going on, because sometimes that is where the crux of the issue is. And so, ironically, that's something that I usually help my clients with. We don't necessarily do an emotional brain dump, but I'm definitely adding it to the rotation. But it's my job to see what is that thing, because it's always a thing. It's something typically emotional or mindset oriented that is the hang up. You know what the steps are, right? Think about if you're talking about weight loss, if you're talking about any kind of, new plan, right? You are building something, you are creating something. Typically, you know the steps, or you can go and research the steps. But it's usually something that is blocking you from executing. And that something is typically more emotional or mindset driven than it is physical hard, you know, thing that you can, sometimes we'll say, oh, well, I can't move forward because I don't have the resources. I don't have the money. I don't know how to do the thing. If you really wanted to, you can figure out how to do the thing. And there are typically ways to do the thing. Um, I got a lot of time and no money way. Um, versus, the until, I guess I'm gonna say, until you can do the investment. So there are ways around to get there, right? It's something that's telling you that you can't. It's something that's telling you um that you need these things that you don't actually need to move forward. You may need them eventually, but you don't need them step one, day one. You need, to get the mindset and your emotions in check so that you can go on this journey. So if you're, think about it as a road trip, right? I've used this analogy before in past episodes, and I use it often in conversations either with my clients or um events. But I look at my emotions as different little people. And the thing is that when you're getting ready to go on a journey, think about it like if you're going on a road trip with a bunch of little kids. And, are we there yet? She's touching me. I'm hungry. I'm sleepy. I'm this. So as we get ready to go on these journeys, as we get ready to go down our road, our success path, we often need to stop and set the tone for all of the little characters in the vehicle. And in this instance, that may be an emotional. brain dump. There's a lot of different tools and tricks, that you can employ to get there, right? But it's setting that tone for all of those different characters. So, fear, girl, look, we going. I know you scared. I know you got a whole lot to say. I know you, um, have so much to say about the potholes and the traffic and the this and the that. But guess what? We still going. We still going. Um, Make sure we don't die, and that's your only job, girl. That's your only job. You can sit in the back. You just make sure we don't die, and don't be dramatic about it because we're not doing that. So let her sit in the back seat. Um, you may have self doubt. That self doubt telling you, "Well, girl, remember last time." Girl, put on your headphones because we about to go. Put on your headphones. Let confidence sit shotgun. Let her sit in the front because she's going to help you navigate. The rest of them going to be in there sleeping. They're going to be loud. They're going to be having all of these arguments. Put them in a bag. Let confidence sit in the front with you. And let's go on this ride. But you need to set that tone. And a lot of times where we stumble is we don't set the tone, and then those things start to rear their ugly heads, and we're not ready for them. We're not prepared for them. So, again, my assignment for you today is to sit down for that 10 or 15 minutes, do that emotional brain dump, sit in that, be true to it. Don't try to sugarcoat it. Don't try to edit it. Don't try to act like Superwoman. We're not doing that. Just sit in the reality of it because I know for a lot of people, being vulnerable is considered being weak. And depending on the definition, how Webster has multiple definitions of a word, depending on the definition, um, weakness may be in there, right? But the thing about being vulnerable is it's not a point of weakness, it's actually a point of strength. Because although to be vulnerable, you have to open yourself up. And in that moment, you may be feel weak, right? You may feel a way in that initial moment of vulnerability. But when you actually work through being vulnerable, being open, being honest with yourself, because what it means to anybody else doesn't really matter. Being honest with yourself in that moment is weak. Every moment after that is strong. And I'll give a quick example. I don't want this to run too long, but um, I was actually sharing this story recently. I'm a New Orleans girl, and we bought our house after Katrina, right? And I didn't realize it at the time, but the location of our house is at the point that one of the levees broke. And when I realized that, I looked at my husband. I said, "Did you know that?" And he said, "Well, yeah, I did." And I was like, "Well, we never talked about this. It seemed like it would have come up." And he said, "Well, he realized that we were already in the process, but he said, but I'm not worried about it because even though that's a point where the levee broke, it has been repaired. And because it has been repaired, it is probably the strongest point of the levee at this point." That's the same thing with vulnerability. When we are vulnerable, we open ourselves up in that moment for to get that reality, right? to face the thing, to work through it, to just be honest with ourselves. And, again, your vulnerability may be helpful to someone else, but it's about you. So it's being honest with yourself, it's removing that weak point. But you have to open it up first to be able to um build it back stronger. So you open up to create strength. So that's what I believe this emotional brain dump could be the catalyst of. Now, this is, on that surface level. If you have, sometimes we have things that we're working through that are much deeper than that, bigger, deeper than that. And in that instance, I would say, you know, have a conversation with your therapist or whatever mental health professional you're working with. But ultimately, we are whole human beings and our emotions are a part of it. So let's sit in that emotional brain dump. Let's figure out what it is that is causing us to be stuck. What is it? What is that conversation that we're having with ourselves that is lying to us, that is telling us that we can't. And go back to, I want to say 2 episodes back. Um, watch them all and then you'll catch it. But 2 episodes back, I talked about what stories are you telling? What stories are you telling? Where are they coming from? So, emotional brain dump. Let's get on that. Let's look at how that is blocking us. Also, if you haven't done just a regular brain dump, hey, do that too. Because sometimes we have so much going on in our heads that it's stopping us from being able to focus and execute and be productive. All right, that's what I got for you guys. Um, have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Prophets in Pajamas podcast. I hope you got some great tips to start working with ease. Want to stay connected? Follow me at Your Workflow on Instagram. For more information about building your luxury brand, register for my upcoming luxury brand workshop at CoachDanniD.com.